Hello and a huge warm welcome. My name is Lorraine Davies and I'm the host of this summit, The Expansion. Unleash your infinite potential and reclaim the power within. I am so thrilled to have the fabulous Gabrielle Thil with us today. So I'm going to just give you a little bit of an introduction into who she is before we get into the huge amount of wisdom and the beautiful practice that she is here to share with us today. So Gabrielle Thil is a French relationships coach and the founder of Soul to Soul Relationships. It's all about the art of healing and reopening hearts to love. Now, what I've loved when me and Gabrielle have been talking about is that it's not just about an awareness and about knowing. It's about integrating this. It's the deep dive and the healing work that is so essential to this practice. And it's really about feeling the energy and the sensations. And that is where the magic happens. So I'm sure she's going to drop so many nuggets of wisdom. So I'm going to say a huge warm welcome. And it is so fabulous to have you with me today.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you and share a bit more about, the art of healing and reopening our hearts to love, because it's so essential to have a full, wide open heart if we want to really enjoy our life.
Absolutely. So obviously the topic of the summit is the expansion, which I think it automatically is so beautifully linked to that idea of opening up our heart space. And before we get into really the depths of what we're going to cover today, I would love it if you would share a little bit about how you fell into doing the work that you do and how you learned to expand your heart space.
Yes, well, everything started with my own love issues, I would say. Back then, when I was living in Paris, France, and was in my 30s, I had really difficult relationships, in the sense that I didn't manage really to connect with my no, with the man I was meeting. So we had some short relationships, but I was never able to really dive deeper into emotional connection and soul connection and deep intimacy. So I started to realize that, of course, I was a common denominator in all those relationships, and that if I wanted to have a fulfilling love life and expansive life, I really needed to dive a bit deeper within and start looking at those parts within me that were dormant or a bit in the shadow, and so it's when everything started, and so I started to work with a spiritual relationship coach who was all about love and spirituality, because both are so intrinsically linked, that yes, working at a spiritual level is what really allowed me to reopen my own heart. And so a few months after starting to work with her and doing some, deep emotional and energetic healing at the same time, I actually heard about a beautiful pilgrim path, which crosses different countries in Europe, which is called El Camino de Santiago. And I felt a deep inner calling to do this pilgrimage. And really, it was a calling from my heart and soul, because intellectually, logically, it didn't make any sense to go and walk for it was 1,600 kilometers, so a bit more than 1,000 miles. So it didn't make any sense to go and walk this pilgrim path. But I was sufficiently, in touch with my heart at that time to really listen to this deep inner desire that was moving me. And so I started this beautiful pilgrim path. I started in France, and when I was 10 days before arriving at Santiago de Compostela, which is the ultimate point, I actually met my future husband, who felt as well this deep inner calling to go and do the Camino de Santiago. And so yes, I always say that if I really was able to listen to this deep inner calling, it was because my heart was opened and I was really letting myself be guided by my heart and soul. And it was the most expansive, path I ever took in my life, because it really completely shifted not only my love life, but also my whole life, because from that moment on, my whole life shifted, and so 1.5 years after meeting my future husband, I actually left France, left Paris, because I was living in Paris at that time. And I started my life abroad, because since that time we've been living, in different countries and enjoying our adventurous life with our son that we called Santiago. But yes, everything started with my own struggles and my own desire to really do the work and go deep, because intuitively I knew that everything started with me and within.
Oh my goodness, when you were talking about your journey, I literally had that moment where all the hairs on my arms like stood up on end, because I think what you share so beautifully is that you had that deep inner calling, but in order to kind of take that action step to go to trust in that was the next best thing for you, even though everything seemed logically, it didn't make no sense at all. You had to have an open heart to be able to do that. And I certainly think that from, definitely from my experience, that, everybody, I know everybody watching this will be able to relate, that everyone here has that deep inner knowing. Like, we have that piece of us who's like, yes, you get those intuitive nudges, that you're made for more or for something different, or you're here to experience something different and in your life. But the taking the courageous action is so much easier if you are open from that heart space, because you feel you are able to trust this nudge and not look outside of yourself, but look inside of yourself. And it's really like the cornerstone of the expansion process, because without that truly opening at your heart and being able to trust that intuitive nudge is the right next step for you, nothing else unfolds. So that's really powerful. Thank you so much. So in terms of, opening up the heart, and you talked about kind of going into the depths and diving deep and doing the healing process. I think there's some people on this call who will absolutely relate to that. Now, some people were like, yeah, but what does that actually, what does it look like? Like, what are the first steps? So I'd love for us to explore, if somebody is ready to truly open their hearts, what comes first? What's the first thing that needs to happen?
Yeah, so first I would say there is some awareness, because many of us have a closed heart without really being aware of it. So I really invite the people who are listening to us to take a closer look at their life, not only their love life, but their life in general, and see all the places where there is a desire, but the outer world is not reflecting it. So if there is a desire, but it doesn't show up in the world, it means that at some point there is a disconnection in between the desire and the realization of the desire, the really co-creation of the desire. So it's a clear symptom that something is not fully aligned yet. So the first step is this one, really being aware of where there is a disconnection in between the desire. So if it's the desire to enjoy a fulfilling love life. So how does it show up in the outer world? Do you really have this fulfilling relationship, or are you still in wedding mode, or are you still hurt in some ways, and you don't feel like it's the time to reopen your heart yet? Or just this small reality check is the first step. And then it's setting the intention to really go and reopen your heart, because everything starts with intention and energy to really move things within you. And so when those two steps are okay, it's then really diving into the work. And in that sense, it's really important to work at so many different levels. And I would say the emotional level, of course, because usually either we suppress our emotions, or we completely identify to them. So and it was my case, back then. I was either constantly overwhelmed by my emotions, or trying to suppress them, because of course, when you are constantly overwhelmed, it's complicated to leave. So at some point, you choose to suppress them, and neither is great. And it's really about learning to embrace those emotions without judging them, suppressing them, and without identifying to them. So there is a huge work around moving through the emotions, and learning from the emotion, but without losing ourselves in the emotion. So this is the first level. Then there is really the energetic part as well, working with the chakras. And really, when you work with the chakra, you always start, for example, with the first chakra, which is the survival mode, and it's really about starting to feel safe within. Until you really feel safe, you won't be able to open your heart, because you will feel the urge to protect yourself if you don't feel safe, and it's normal. So energetically, we really have to start to look at those survival needs, are they covered? Do I really feel safe in my life right now, sufficiently enough to start reopening? Because until you feel safe, you won't be able to reopen your heart. And then it's really about working as well with the magnetic field, and expanding the magnetic field, which is your protection. And the point is really to have a strong magnetic field, so that you can have a heart wide open. So there is this deep energetic work, which starts with the first chakra. And then, of course, there is all the somatic work, and really working deep in the body, with the body, because until it's really fully embodied, there won't be real shifts in your life. It's really about your way of being, which need to shift, and it will show in your body. And many people have closed heart, and it shows actually in their bodies, in the sense that they go head first, and body closed, and so it's really about reopening the body, and letting the energy flow freely within the body. So So really you can embrace all that is, you know, and so yes, so it's really deepening into those different levels, and taking the time to do it, because, for example, when we work with the body, it takes time, you know. You don't change your body just like that. You can have an intellectual breakthrough just like that, you know, but the body, the integration part, takes time. And so it's necessary to give you the time and allow the time to, do the work, knowing at the same time that time is not enough, you know, and you really have to do the work. Because I sometimes work with women who have had, a difficult breakup years ago. So time has passed in between the breakup experience and today, but the wound is still there because deep healing work hasn't been done, you know. And so even if in a question of time, they're, not close to the experience emotionally, energetically, they're still very, very close to the experience, you know, and it of course shows in the way they behave in their life and act in their life. So it's essential to allow time to help you do the work, but time alone isn't enough. So it's really about doing the work.
I think that's really, and it's a point I'd like to kind of like drive home essentially on behalf, because I think the thing is that I kind of see kind of there's sometimes we can fall into one of like two areas. Either we can get so caught up in kind of the healing work that we are then not kind of taking the next step, or the other piece is like, so that desperation to kind of get there, like I want to arrive, I want to be healed, I want to be ready. And it's like understanding that creating that space and that time and honoring the journey and being accepting of this journey has got stages to it. It's got these levels, as you said, you know, you've got to start by the awareness, doing the feeling work, doing the energetic work. Like there's so many aspects to this work. You can't expect to suddenly arrive overnight. And I think we definitely live in a culture where we expect results like now. we want to like, I want to feel better now. And I think when it talks about something like expansion, you know, it can feel like it's something that needs to happen really fast. But I think what I've learned from my experience, and definitely I'm sure that you can relate to this, is that sometimes things look like they've happened fast on the outside, but actually it's been an ongoing journey of all these baby steps and all these these piecemeal bits of healing that have had to happen for us to then it looks like it's appeared out of nowhere, but it's actually the baby steps that we've taken along the way to get to that point.
Yes, absolutely. And I always tell the women I work with, it's one moment at a time, one breath at a time, and one step at a time. And it's really essential to remember that it takes time. Though once you are doing the work, you actually start feeling and enjoying more as well, though you might be in the middle of the chaos still. Once you start really working with your feelings and emotions and sensations, things start to shift and take form completely differently, and you feel so much expansion within.
Yeah. And I think that's a really it's really interesting, because I sometimes think that as well, that as you are opening up your heart, as you are kind of allowing yourself or giving yourself permission to experience more joy and more love, actually even the healing work, you can see the joy and you can see the the love in the process, which I think sometimes you can't see when you first start out. Whereas when you get that bit further into the journey, you can really start to experience those feelings even in the harder work.
Yes, absolutely. And we are this spiritual human being, you know, so we have both our spiritual part and our human part. This is a duality we've come to experience. So in the spiritual part, we're always connected to joy, love, peace, you know, and in our human part, we have all the emotions, you know, sadness, anger, you know, frustration, and we have both constantly at the same time, and we have to learn how to embrace both at the same time constantly. And many women I start working with, you know, have many difficulties to feel. They protect themselves so much. They're so afraid of feeling sadness or anger or frustration that they close themselves, you know. And so part of the work is really relearning to feel and to be able to be sad or angry and joyful and grateful and peaceful at the same time, you know, because all our emotions will always be there. You can't suppress your emotions, you know. It's just energy in motion. And so we all have, you know, our days and there are moments when you know, we're angry and it's normal, and we have to learn to embrace that without losing touch with our enlightened spiritual part, which is all about joy, peace, and unconditional love. You know, it's moving through the emotions without losing touch with our alignment.
And I think also with what you've been saying so far is that detachment from the emotion. Just because you're feeling a certain way, that doesn't mean that we have to like make that our identity. And I think that's something that's really, really key with the emotions, because, you know, when we look at, for a large portion of us, now you probably find this again in the women that come into work with you, is that the reason that we've essentially shut down emotions is because perhaps when we were growing up or in society, we were taught that that's not an acceptable way to show emotions. I think it's, you know, it's quite often that people were shut down. You know, I remember being told as a child, you know, that's, you know, you don't need to cry about that, don't be silly, that kind of thing. And over time, the protection mechanism is, if we, you know, well, I won't show those emotions. I'll kind of keep them close to my chest, which is the kind of the pushing down piece. And I think when we push down our emotions in that way, there's so much guilt and a shame that we then attribute to feeling a certain way. And we, in order to expand and in order to be able to move beyond those emotions, we have to be able to, I think, definitely recognize the emotion, but not take that on as that's who we are. It's just something we're moving through. It's part of, as you say, part of this human experience that we're choosing to move beyond. So I would love to know, because obviously our heart is so powerful, and you hear things about kind of like heart coherence and the electromagnetic power of our heart. So I know this is something that you know so much about. So I would love to understand a bit more about this, because obviously it's not the kind of thing we're taught at school. So in terms of the power of the heart and this kind of the power of it, are there any things you think that we should know, any kind of awarenesses we should have regarding this, the power of this?
Yeah, so actually, what you were mentioning, that the magnetic field around the heart center is stronger and more powerful than the magnetic field around the head center. Yes, it's absolutely true. So yes, we are so more powerful when we are connected to our heart and really, you know, aligned with our heart's desires. The thing is, in our world, we are often taught that, you know, people who are more in their heart are less powerful, or, you know, weak, I would say. There is lots of limiting beliefs around, if you are in your heart, in some ways you are kind of weak or too emotional or too but actually it's learning how to work both with the shadow and the light, because of course there are moments when we are overwhelmed by our emotions, when we can be weaker. It's absolutely true. But when we are overwhelmed by the emotions, it's because we're in the shadow parts. And so it's really learning to move through the emotional part and really reach that place where is our true power, where you really can feel the unconditional love. And so it's not at the same level anymore, energetically and emotionally, because you're not emotional. You are just in the heart, and you're in the absolute, true, unconditional love, and it's a completely different frequency. So usually when people refer to the weakness of the people who are heart-centered, it's because they refer to people who are actually in the shadow part, not in the light. Because when you are in the really, when you really have an open heart, you are extremely strong, because you know where you come from, and it's really a love that irradiates you, that it's pure light, and people feel elevated in your presence, and really seen and heard and loved. It's not at all emotional, and so this is it. It's really about learning to work with the shadow and the light, and getting into this place where you are in the light part of the heart.
Oh my goodness. There's so many juicy bits that I want to kind of draw out of there, because I think, I definitely feel that we're moving into this time now where we are being called as heart-led leaders. That's one of the things that I said with this summit, is calling in all heart-led leaders, and conscious women and visionaries, and that's who I'm calling in with this summit. And I think that we're starting to recognize, I think this is the shift. This is why certainly what I'm experiencing from this side, is that I feel like there is this shift into that understanding of what you've just said, the power of the heart. And there's this emphasis on, we can be courageously vulnerable. We can be vulnerable, and we can share our truth, and we can share this feeling without it being, feeling like you're showing your dark side or your weak side, because there's so much strength in there. There's so much power in that opening up. And the other thing that you shared there is that, for me, I definitely find that when people are really heart-led, and when they've got a really open heart, they are truly magnetic. They're the kind of people you are drawn to, and that you think, they are living in their truth. They're living in alignment with who they are here to be. They are living their soul purpose. That's the kind of people you want to hang around with. That's the kind of trait you want to embody as a leader. And if we understand that all comes from understanding the power we have in here in our heart space, and learning to work with that, work with the emotions, work with the energy and the frequency of this heart state, it's so, 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 so powerful. So I would love to know, obviously I'm gonna get you to share a practice in a few minutes, because I know, I'm delighted to be able to do the practice in and of itself, to be honest. I'm like, yes, bring me the practice. But I would love to kind of, I think when we talk about the concepts we've been talking about today, it can sound quite general in terms of, obviously you've got to try and provide feedback and ideas for everyone that kind of are going to be relatable. But I suppose what I would love to understand is, beyond the practice you're going to share in a minute, what kind of tangible actions can people take each day to help them to be more in their heart and to open their heart more?
Yeah, so first, always the intention, because the intention is so essential. And then, yeah, start to really listen to the heart, and to the real desires of the heart, and reconnect as well with all the emotions, but without judging or identifying, but really learning from the emotions, and then moving the emotion through the body, so through different movements or breath work exercises. There are so many different possibilities to really move the emotions through the body. So we really are able to reconnect with a heart wide open. But yes, everything starts with the intention, listening really to what is there, moving what needs to be moved through movement or breath, and also there is always a part which I love very much, which is a chanting part, because I do lots of chanting as well in my practices, because when you chant mantras, for example, you easily calibrate to the frequency of the mantra. You just vibrate differently when you chant mantra, because they are so powerful and so uplifting, so elevated, that immediately you calibrate to a whole new level.
I'm so glad you totally beat me to it there. I was just about to say, what practices do you love to use? And I love that you use chanting. So because what's really interesting is as you say, it's that almost like that vibration. It's the, you can feel it. It's like you can feel things moving. So it's so powerful. It's beautiful, amazing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pass over to you, because I know you have a practice to lead, and I'm going to sit here quietly and enjoy this.
Yeah, so wonderful. So we're just going to do a small practice to start moving a little, the sensation, feelings, emotions, because maybe during this small talk, some of you might have been a bit triggered, and some emotions might have, shown up, and so you might still feel a bit, closed or worried, or so we're going to move this a little. So I'm just going to ask you to close your eyes first and just start to be aware of whatever is at the moment. So just be aware of your thoughts, the sensations in your body, the emotions which might be there. Be aware of your posture as well. How are you sitting or standing? Just be aware of the posture. And of course, be aware of your breath. And just, allow, little by little, allow yourself to breathe deeper within, and start feeling the air moving through you until the navel point. So inhale through the nose and start feeling the air, the prana, entering the navel area. And then breathe out, exhale deep and long as well. And keep breathing like that, very slowly. Feeling the navel increasing in the inhale, and then slightly contracting in the exhale. And keep breathing like that and start really listening to your body, your heart. And then we're just going to do a small breath of fire to really burn all those emotions, sensations, feelings who might still block your heart. So, breath of fire, we're going to inhale and exhale through the nose. And we are going to focus exclusively on the exhale because we're going to inhale automatically. And so in the exhale, I would like you to contract the navel point. So the navel point is actually 2 to 3 centimeters under your navel. Okay, so I have my navel, and 2 to 3 centimeters down, I have my navel point. So I would like you to center on this area of your body, which is where you have your reserve of energy, and you're going to contract the navel point in each exhale. So it would be like that. And breath of fire is very rhythmic, so we're going to do it quite quickly like that. So just keep like that. I'm just going to put some music on so we have some beautiful music to guide us, and just keep breathing. Now you're going to inhale deep and long. Keep the air inside, and you're going to contract the anus, the genitals, the navel point, and raise your energy to the crown chakra. And now exhale. And just your eyes closed for a few more seconds, just observing the energetic shift. Just observe how you feel now. How is your brain? How is your body? And just be grateful for this beautiful energy we have just moved. And now I invite you to come back to your heart center. Breathe into it. And just listen to your desires. Maybe you feel the desire to connect at a deeper level with your loved ones, or co-create a soulful relationship with your soulmate. Just feel into this. And trust that when you do the work, your relationships shift and magic happens. Just feel the magic within you, which is already there, ready to reflect in the outer world. And just take a deep long breath. Inhale through the nose. And exhale. And now when you feel ready, you can reopen your eyes. And yes, just be present and smile to yourself.
That's so beautiful. Thank you. So for anybody who's obviously watching this, Gabrielle, would you like to share some great next steps that they can take following this practice today?
Yes, it's such a beautiful and powerful practice, and it's been very short, you know. It's been just 1 minute of breath of fire, you know. But when you use powerful tools, you really feel, you know, the physical, emotional, and energetic shift very quickly. So of course, it's then, you know, being consistent with this practice, you know, and really using these tools on a daily basis, I would say, to really little by little, you know, one moment at a time, one breath at a time, and one step at a time, start reopening your heart. Because you know, as I was explaining before, it takes time and practice and consistency. So, so yes, start with this small breath of fire, which is so powerful, and you can, you know, take it up to 11 minutes a day. It's not that long, you know, and you will notice that, yes, your energy will be completely different, and your frequency, your vibration will, be completely uplifted. So it's so powerful, so beautiful, and so easy in some way. So it's really an invitation to dive deeper into those practices and powerful tools.
Thank you so much. Honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure having this time with you today. Before I let you go, I would just love for you to share how best it is people can connect with you or come and play in your world. What's the best means to reach out to you and to come connect with you?
Yes, they can, if they like Instagram. I am very much present on Instagram, so I would invite them to really go and check my account, Gabrielle Thil. It's my name and surname, very easy to find. And there they will be able to access some free masterclass and guide to help them, learn more about soul-to-soul relationships and how to reopen your heart after, a heartbreak or and so yes, I really invite them to go to my Instagram or as well my website directly, which is gabriellethil.com. And so yes, download the free tools I am sharing there and start doing the work.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for your time and your energy and your expertise. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I know that everybody watching, well, just even with that practice that you shared with today, will have experienced a piece of that beautiful joy of opening up. So thank you. I can't thank you enough. And for everybody watching, you know how to go and find her now, so you can go and find her on Instagram and connect. And we look forward to speaking to you really soon. Bye bye for now.